What are some red flags of a bad friendship? Walking on eggshells. Constantly worrying if what you say is going to make them mad. When they can lean on you whenever they need you but you can't lean on them. Every time you're finished hanging out you feel worse than you did before. That's a sign of a bad friend. Or if you consistently put off replying to them, not out of spite or anything but just because you don't have the energy for them. They're draining you. Obviously not black and white. Some people are just the type that require a lot of energy because they have a lot themselves. But recognizing this has saved me from a lot of unhappy or even toxic friendships. They act just fine whenever they invite you over, and then as soon as someone else comes into the picture, their whole attitude changes. They begin treating you with disrespect, just to try and act cool in front of their new friend. Or you're the new friend and you get treated like. Because you haven't known anyone you can't possibly understand the inside jokes. But no offense, right? When one person is always right, and one person is always wrong. Oh, I'm guilty of this. I'm trying to improve on this. I just hate it when someone's wrong. Yes, I know that wrong is subjective. From their perspective they are correct, and I can be actually wrong, although there are some objective truths. When you never hear from them unless they need something. This one is huge. My brother has low-functioning autism, and people have been taking advantage of him for years. He finally wisened up to it and cut out at least 9/10 of his old friend group in the last few years because they were calling him up for a good time, only to make sure he was the one paying the bill. The last straw for him was when he ended up paying $5,000 for one of his friends to go to Vegas or something with him. When you call them out on bad behavior they act like the victim. Major red flag this one is. Wow, you're really hurting me with these baseless accusations. When you text them they don't respond, but when you hang out they're always on their phone. This one is so true. That happened to one of my friends. When they only ask you for things but never offer anything in return, they're just using you. Faking on engagements with you, and only talking about themselves without asking about how you are doing. When they've always got to one-up someone. You had a bad day. Theirs was worse. Your commute was crappy. Theirs was worse. You got a promotion at work. Well, something even better happened to them at their job that day. And on and on. When they're not there when you need them. But you're the first one they call when they need someone. I knew this one girl a few years ago. She was very much this kind of person. She would come to me for help all the time. She was pretty dramatic and always seemed to have a problem. But hey, I'm a pretty helpful guy, so I didn't mind. One day, it was my turn to feel sad. I was having a rough day, so I called her. I don't remember exactly what she said, but it was something along the lines of figure this out on your own. I can't help you. I'm not going to set myself on fire to keep you warm. Yada yada. Some friend you are. But here's the best part. Later that night, at like 3 a.m., my phone rings. Because someone was feeling fat and ugly and they really needed a shoulder to cry on. Did you miss your entire speech only a few hours before this? Now I don't remember exactly what I said either, but it was something along the lines of shove it up your fat ugly. You inconsiderate. Quote. Can't accept responsibility for any mistake. When they don't listen to what you have to say. Continually feeling like you want to say something but should hold your tongue. Always saying they'll pay you back and never do. When they embarrass you in front of your other friends and don't apologize later. There's a fine line between busting chops and actual mean-spirited bullying. I love a good friendly ribbing among friends, but I hate when someone is clearly looking to lift themselves up or prove their social standing by putting one of the friends in the group down. So toxic and insecure. If anyone ever does this to you, pull them aside at some point afterward and talk to them one-on-one about it. Tell them it really bothered you and not to do it again. If they do it again after that, there's no hope of it ever changing. Avoid as much as you can. All your interactions with them are on their terms, not on yours. Obviously, everyone's different, and so you'll always have to make some kinds of compromises when you do something with another person, whether that's picking things to do that neither of you love but both of you enjoy, or picking things that one person loves one day and the other the next. But if you find that you're constantly having to put some part of your personality or interests aside in order to interact with someone on their terms instead of yours, that's not a healthy friendship, and that doesn't have to inherently be anything wrong with you or them, or make either of you bad people, which is why it can be so hard to break off a friendship like that. But if you're not on an equal footing, it's not going to be healthy or helpful for either of you. You see, you got a private message from them and your gut reaction is to start getting nervous or anxious. What is it this time? Being dismissive of all your interests and achievements. Meanwhile, everything they do, no matter how mundane, is amazing. Almost verbatim conversation I had once. Didn't get your texts about scoring in the 98th percentile on your test. I just woke up. My alarm went off and I turned it off and unlocked my phone with my eyes closed. Can you imagine if someone saw me do that? They'd be so freaked out. Never actually acknowledged the fact that I beat the record in the entire department for my major, and that this was a really important test. But she got upset when I pointed out that most people are able to unlock their phone without looking at it. When you overhear them making plans, seemingly fun plans you'd enjoy with your other friends. I'm antisocial, but it still hurts. Asking would be nice. When they don't give back the pen you once lent to them in school, they deny the whole exchange. I know you're out there, John. If they talk on another person to you, then pretend to be that person's friend to their face. Guess what they're talking about when you're not around? As a rule of thumb, do they make your life better? If not, then it's not a good friendship. I came to this realization with a couple of long-term friends I had from back in the day. They would never really do anything nice for you. We basically just hung out of habit. You couldn't expect them to be there for you if you needed a favor, even small ones. With one there was also constant ribbing. He'd play it off as joking, but it was closer to insults. I eventually came to the realization that these guys don't make my life better in any way. I can replace them with people who actually give a. This may come off as selfish sounding, but you have to remember to reciprocate and be a good friend too. If your friend needs a favor, and it's not unreasonable and you can do it, then do it. If you're always there for a friend and they don't reciprocate, then you're just being used. If you're not there for your friend but expect them to be there for you, then you're the one who is a tool. When they lie, constantly, whether if it's about himself, you, or situations, especially if they are lying about you. Very clingy. Can't accept that you aren't best friends after knowing each other for 2 weeks. When they murder your mutual friend. Yes, this was from personal experience. I would say murder in general is a big red flag. When you find yourself actually feeling relieved that you're not around them, maybe it's time to reevaluate the relationship. Always insulting you, insisting it's a joke, getting upset if you say anything back. It might sound obvious, but it took me way too long to realize what a problem it was. And even longer to realize I didn't have to put up with it. You're putting all the work into the friendship. Had one friend who I was really close with in college and shortly after, were roommates a couple times for about 3-5 years. After I moved out the last time and for about 5 years after that, I realized the initiating of hanging out even though we were in the same town nearly always started with me, him RSVPing yes to my wedding, then blowing it off was the last straw. My wedding was over the holidays, so I expected some people not to be able to make it. But no phone call, no text to say sorry man, family stuff came up. Pretty IMO. If they don't listen to you in conversations but rather are sitting there waiting for their turn to speak, it's a deal breaker. If they are permanently an innocent victim, surrounded by wrongdoers, that's a deal breaker. If they are a drama mama or a drama papa, that is a deal breaker. If they only call you when they need something, they are using you. Deal breaker. If they are not happy for you when something good happens, but instead lament how they are not as happy, deal breaker. If they exclude you intentionally, talk about you behind your back, spill your secrets, those are major deal breakers. Shut it down. When they are never happy for you when you achieve something you've been working hard for, and instead try to bring you down. Are you sure you can cope with that level of responsibility? Do you really think you'll fit into that company? Allied to this, they are judgmental and bad-mouth you and criticize you to mutual friends. They can't be trusted with keeping your problems secret. They gossip simply for the sake of putting you down because that makes them feel superior. Bitterness and envy. A genuine friend would be happy for you. When all the arrangements are left up to you, you do all the running, all the organizing, booking the cinema, theater, etc. You do all the driving, collecting them for events or nights out. They freeload without any reciprocity. They lack empathy. They expect you to be there for their crises like relationship breakups, but don't reciprocate. They don't want to know about your stresses and problems. They only want the fun bits.